America stands on the edge of a revolution, and a secret plan called Project 2025 could change everything you thought you knew. From government agencies to schools, from the courts to the media, nothing is safe. This isn't just politics. It's a blueprint to reshape the nation. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the most shocking revelation in American history. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're exposing Project 2025, Donald Trump's secret roadmap to reshape America from day one. If you want to stay informed about the future of this country, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. The truth is coming, and you don't want to miss a single detail. America stands at a crossroads, a nation divided not just by politics, but by ideology, values, and the very definition of freedom. And right at the center of this storm stands something called Project 2025, a plan quietly designed by some of the most powerful conservative minds in Washington. Most Americans have never heard of it, yet it could reshape the country from the ground up, from education and healthcare to immigration, the military, and even the balance of power between the states and the federal government. But what exactly is Project 2025? And why are so many experts warning that it could transform American democracy into something completely different? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the most important political revelation of our time. Project 2025 isn't just an idea. It's a 900-page blueprint created by the Heritage Foundation, one of the most influential conservative think tanks in the United States. Officially, they call it a transition project, a roadmap to help the next Republican president take control of the federal government on day one. But behind those polished words lies something far more ambitious, and for some, far more alarming. The document outlines how to replace thousands of federal employees with loyal political appointees, restructure agencies, roll back climate policies, restrict reproductive rights, and reassert traditional values at every level of American life. In other words, it's not just about who wins the next election. It's about who controls the machinery of the state after the election is over. And the timing of all this? Chillingly perfect. With Donald Trump leading the polls and hinting at sweeping executive actions, many believe Project 2025 is the real plan waiting in the shadows, ready to be activated the moment he returns to power. The architects of this project describe it as a second American Revolution. Their goal is nothing less than to reverse what they see as decades of liberal influence, from the civil rights era to environmental protections and LGBTQ+ rights. But for millions of Americans, this revolution sounds less like freedom and more like control. One of the key proposals in Project 2025 is the dismantling of the so-called deep state. The plan calls for firing up to 50,000 career civil servants experts who've worked under both Republican and Democratic administrations, and replacing them with individuals loyal to the president's agenda. Critics warn that this would effectively erase the separation between the government and the political party in power, turning neutral agencies like the Justice Department, the FBI, and the Environmental Protection Agency into tools of one man's will. And if you think that sounds like an exaggeration, think again. In 2020, Trump already tried to implement something similar, an executive order called Schedule F. It would have allowed the president to reclassify thousands of civil servants and fire them at will. The order was blocked when Biden took office. But guess what? Project 2025 plans to bring it back stronger and more permanent. That's not all. The plan also lays out detailed steps to eliminate the Department of Education as we know it, giving more power to states and local districts to decide what kids learn, especially on topics like gender, race, and American history. Supporters say it's about parental rights. Opponents call it state-sanctioned censorship. The project also calls for the end of federal funding for programs that promote diversity, inclusion, and equity, claiming these initiatives have become political weapons used to divide the country. In its place, Project 2025 proposes something called the restoration of traditional American values. That phrase might sound harmless, but within the text, it's defined as promoting religious education, banning gender-affirming care for minors, and restricting access to abortion nationwide. And yes, they want to codify these policies through executive orders and federal rule changes that could bypass Congress entirely. So if you're wondering, could this really happen? The short answer is yes. If Trump wins, Project 2025 gives him the step-by-step manual to do it all legally. But even beyond Trump, this plan is bigger than one man. It's an ideological movement, a vision of America rooted in a 1950s version of family, faith, and authority. The question is, who decides what version of America gets to exist in 2025? Because one thing's for sure, Project 2025 is no secret anymore. Its authors have publicly stated that their mission is to ensure the next conservative president can govern effectively from day one. In their words, personnel is policy, meaning if you control the people, you control the government. And that's exactly what this project aims to do. As the 2024 election draws near, you'll hear this phrase again and again: day one readiness. It sounds like efficiency. It sounds like preparation. But when you dig deeper, you realize it's about power, the kind that doesn't wait for checks and balances, the kind that doesn't need public approval. This isn't just politics. It's a battle for the soul of the republic. So what happens if Project 2025 becomes reality? What does America look like under this new system, and what freedoms might disappear first? If Project 2025 becomes reality, America as we know it could be changed forever. Not through war or revolution, but through policy quiet signatures, administrative changes, and new appointments that slowly rewrite the foundation of democracy itself. Because the true power of Project 2025 isn't in what it says publicly, it's in what it plans to do quietly. Imagine waking up in an America where every key federal agency from the Department of Justice to Homeland Security is staffed only with people who answer to one ideology, where decisions about your health, your child's education, and your right to protest are all filtered through political loyalty. That's not democracy. That's control. One of the first goals of Project 2025 is to restructure the Justice Department. According to the plan, the president would have far greater authority to direct investigations and prosecutions. That means if the White House wants to target political opponents, whistleblowers, or journalists, it could do so legally with almost no oversight. In simple terms, the line between justice and politics could disappear. Next comes the Department of Homeland Security, where Project 2025 proposes stronger border enforcement, expanded surveillance, and new rules allowing faster deportations without court hearings. Supporters call it national security. Critics warn it could turn into a weapon for mass deportations and racial profiling. And it doesn't stop there. The plan outlines how to reshape the Pentagon, focusing less on global alliances and more on domestic strength, essentially blurring the line between foreign defense and internal control. Some fear this could make it easier for a future president to use military power inside the United States. Now imagine this: a government that not only controls its institutions, but also controls what people believe. That's where the cultural war part of Project 2025 comes in. The project's authors believe that America has lost its moral compass, that progressive movements, feminism, and LGBTQ+ rights have corrupted the nation's traditional values. So their solution? Use policy to restore Christian-based morality. That means removing federal funding from public schools that teach gender equality or racial history they consider divisive. It means limiting access to birth control and banning abortion pills nationwide. It means redefining religious freedom to allow businesses and schools to deny service or education to LGBTQ+ individuals, all in the name of protecting faith. In short, Project 2025 seeks to legislate morality. And here's the scary part: it's all perfectly legal if written as executive orders. No votes, no debate, no opposition in Congress. Supporters argue it's about protecting the American family. But the question remains: whose family? Whose beliefs? And who gets left behind? Because make no mistake, this plan is not just about reshaping government. It's about reshaping society itself. Another cornerstone of Project 2025 is its approach to media and information. The blueprint calls for limiting what it calls bias and misinformation in journalism. But who decides what's bias? Under this framework, the administration could pressure outlets, revoke licenses, and favor state-friendly media. Control the message, and you control the mind. And that's exactly what authoritarian systems have always done throughout history. Think about it. A government that controls the media, controls education, and fills every public institution with loyalists doesn't need to silence dissent because dissent simply disappears on its own. But maybe the most chilling part of all is how organized this plan is. Project 2025 isn't just a document, it's an entire operation. There's a presidential personnel database already built, containing thousands of vetted conservative activists, lawyers, and influencers ready to step into government roles on day one. It's not a conspiracy, it's publicly documented on the Heritage Foundation's own website. Their goal? To replace what they call the permanent bureaucracy, which is basically anyone in government who isn't loyal enough to the conservative agenda. And if you think this sounds extreme, remember this: when democracy dies, it doesn't die overnight. It fades away slowly with every small change that people ignore. First, it's the journalists, then the judges, then the teachers, and finally, the citizens who dare to question power. But here's where it gets interesting, even among conservatives. Not everyone agrees with Project 2025. Some Republican lawmakers have quietly distanced themselves, calling it too radical and un-American. Others argue it gives too much unchecked power to the executive branch, something the founders of the Constitution explicitly warned against. Because America was built on one idea: checks and balances. No one man, no one ideology, no one party should ever control everything. And yet, Project 2025 threatens to do just that legally, efficiently, and permanently. Now, let's talk about the public reaction. Across the country, activists, lawyers, and journalists have started digging deeper into the plan. Online movements have begun spreading awareness, calling it the most dangerous political project in modern history. Hashtags like Stop Project 2025 and Defend Democracy have trended across social media platforms. But awareness alone isn't enough, because the truth is, the people behind Project 2025 are counting on the public not paying attention. They know that outrage fades, that elections distract, that the average person doesn't read a 900-page document filled with legal jargon and policy terms. And that's exactly how democracy fades, not by force, but by apathy. So, what can Americans do? The first step is knowledge. Understand what's in the plan. Don't believe the slogans, read the blueprint. Know who's funding it, who's promoting it, and who's silent about it. The second step is participation. Vote, speak, question. And the final step is unity. Because Project 2025 thrives on division, left Vs. Right, urban Vs. Rural believer Vs. Non-believer. The more divided America becomes, the easier it is to reshape it. If people from all backgrounds, conservative, liberal, independent, realize that the real threat isn't each other, but the concentration of power itself, then maybe there's still time to stop it. Because democracy doesn't die when a law is passed or a leader is elected. It dies when people stop caring. So, the next time you hear the words Project 2025, don't scroll past it. Look closer. Ask questions. Share the truth. Because that's the one thing this plan can't control: an informed and united people. And remember, every great change, good or bad, begins with a story. The story of Project 2025 is still being written, and what happens next depends on all of us. So stay alert. Stay informed. And most importantly, stay free. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Project 2025 is a plan to save America or a plan to control it? Because this conversation has only just begun. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel for the latest updates. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Project 2025 a plan to save America or a plan to control it? Stay alert, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.